Someone's life falls apart at 35. They lose their job, their marriage crumbles, and suddenly they can't get out of bed. People call it a breakdown. But here's what most don't see. This moment didn't start last week or last year. It started decades ago, in a childhood bedroom where a small kid learned that the world wasn't safe. The breakdown everyone notices, that's just the moment when years of invisible weight finally breaks through the surface. Watch someone who experiences a severe mental health crisis, and you'll notice something strange. Their story rarely begins where it seems to. The job loss, the divorce, the panic attacks, these aren't the cause, they're the symptoms. The real story often goes back to when they were 5 or 8 or 12, back to moments they might not even fully remember. Scientists have a term for these early experiences: adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs. These include things like physical abuse, emotional neglect, witnessing violence at home, living with a parent who struggles with addiction or mental illness, or experiencing the chaos of divorce. Researchers studied over 17,000 people and found something disturbing. The more of these experiences someone had as a child, the more likely they were to face serious mental health struggles as an adult. Here's what happens in the brain of a child going through trauma. When a kid experiences ongoing stress, not the normal stress of a bad grade, but the kind where they don't know if they're safe, their brain goes into survival mode. The body floods with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. These chemicals are supposed to help you escape danger, but when they never turn off, they start changing how the brain develops. Think of it like this. Imagine a house being built during an earthquake. The foundation gets laid down wrong. The walls don't line up quite right. Years later, that house might look fine from the outside, but when any pressure hits, it's more likely to crack. The parts of the brain that handle stress, emotions, and decision-making, they develop differently in children who live with constant fear or instability. Their stress alarm system gets stuck in the on position, so even decades later, even when they're objectively safe, their brain still scans for danger, still prepares for the worst, still can't fully relax. This is why someone can seem fine for years. They get through school, start a career, build relationships, they function. But underneath, their nervous system is running on overdrive. Every small stress hits harder than it should. Every conflict feels like a threat. Every disappointment triggers something deeper than it deserves. And then one day, something breaks. Maybe it's a stressful job situation. Maybe it's a relationship ending. Maybe it's just the accumulation of years pretending everything is fine when their body has been screaming that it's not. The breakdown looks sudden to everyone else, but for the person experiencing it, it's been building their entire life. Research shows that people with 4 or more childhood adversities are 12 times more likely to attempt suicide. They're more likely to struggle with depression, anxiety, and substance abuse, not because they're weak, but because their brain was wired in an environment of threat and it's still operating from that old programming. Here's where it gets even more complex. Many people who go through mental health crises don't just have childhood trauma. They also develop what psychologists call maladaptive coping mechanisms. That's a fancy way of saying they learned survival strategies that worked when they were kids but hurt them as adults. Maybe they learned to shut down emotionally because showing feelings got them punished. So now as an adult, they can't connect with their partner even though they want to. Maybe they learned to be hypervigilant, always watching for the next bad thing because that kept them safe. So now they can't enjoy peaceful moments because they're always waiting for disaster. These patterns made sense once. They were intelligent adaptations to impossible situations, but they become prisons. The person experiencing the breakdown often feels like they're going crazy. Their reactions seem too big, too intense, too much. They don't understand why they can't just get over it or calm down like people keep telling them to. What they don't realize is that their nervous system is responding not just to what's happening now, but to everything that happened then. Psychologists call this toxic stress. Stress so severe and prolonged during childhood that it literally changes biology. It affects how genes are expressed. It impacts immune function. It increases inflammation in the body. The trauma doesn't just live in memories, it lives in cells. But here's what's crucial to understand. This isn't a life sentence. The same brain that was shaped by adversity can be reshaped by safety and support. Researchers have found that strong relationships, therapy, and even practices like mindfulness can help rewire the stress response. It's not quick, it's not easy, but it is possible. The person going through the breakdown isn't broken beyond repair. They're experiencing the logical outcome of carrying weights they were never meant to carry alone. Their craziness is actually their system finally saying, "I can't do this anymore. I need help. Something has to change." What looks like falling apart sometimes is the first step towards putting yourself back together, this time with support, understanding, and the truth about where the pain really came from. When someone you know has a mental health crisis, remember, you're not seeing the whole story. You're seeing the culmination of years, maybe decades of struggle. The brutal past they survived didn't just disappear because they got older. It's been there all along, shaping how they see themselves, how they handle stress, how they move through the world. And maybe if we understood this better, we wouldn't call it going crazy. We'd call it what it really is: a human being finally acknowledging the weight they've been carrying since they were too young to even name it. The breakdown isn't the end of their story. Sometimes it's the beginning of understanding why the story has been so hard to write.
Thanks for watching. If this gave you real understanding, let me know in the comments. Which part hit hardest?